Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the session, Making the Most of External Expertise. I will moderate this session. My name is Dina Gerbach. I'm affiliated with the Leibniz HKI in Jena, but I'm also a member of the INCADE management team. So for those who may not know us, INCADE is the incubator for antibacterial therapies in Europe, and we help young innovators to progress novel AMR-related technologies from an early stage into an investable level. INCADE supports early programs not only by funding, but also through advice, scientific advice, regulatory and business development advice. And INCADE also connects young entrepreneurs to experts in the field and to the network, because we want to build an AMR community. So we have 4 panelists today sitting on stage. They represent organizations which provide expertise in one or the other way, and I will shortly introduce them. It's Astrid Pence-Moore from GARDP. She joined GARDP in January 2018 and contributed to the development of GARDP's Scientific Affairs and Revive program from its beginning. In her current role as Senior Scientific Affairs Manager, she leads the content development and contributes to the strategic leadership of the program. After graduating from University of Vienna with a master in molecular biology, Astrid worked at the Friedrich Miescher Institute for Biomedical Research in Basel in the field of breast cancer research. She then joined the Geneva-based healthcare practice of Weber Shandwick, a global communications and PR agency. Welcome, Astrid. We then have Taslim Arif Sayed. He is a director and CEO of CCamp, the Center for Cellular and Molecular Platforms in Bangalore, India. CCamp is an initiative of the Department of Biotechnology at the Ministry of Science and Technology by the Government of India. Before he came to CCamp, he was a postdoc at UCSF in San Francisco. There he also received intense training in entrepreneurship management and strategy management. He did his PhD at the Max Planck Institute for Brain Research and the University of Frankfurt-Main in Germany. He is with us today as CCamp representative and will explain to us more about this organization. We then have Richard Alm from Carbex. He joined Carbex after almost 20 years in large pharma, infection and R&D teams, followed by 4 years at a small antibacterial biotech company. He has supported the progression of small molecule compounds from discovery through to late-stage clinical development. He obtained his PhD in molecular microbiology from the University of Adelaide, and prior to joining industry, he had 2 postdoctoral positions in the AMR area, one in Australia and one in Canada. He currently serves as the chief scientist at Carbex. And finally, last but not least, we have Patrice Courvalin. He is the founder and the director of the interdisciplinary course on antibiotics and resistance, in short, iCare. He is also emeritus professor at the Institut Pasteur in Paris, France. He received master's degrees in sciences and in human biology from the University of Science in Paris, his doctorate in medical sciences from the medical school in Paris, and he was a medical resident at the hospital of the Institut Pasteur. Patrice Courvalin and his collaborators are experts in the genetics and biochemistry of antibiotic resistance. In particular, he first described and then elucidated vancomycin resistance in Enterococcus and demonstrated with his colleagues the exchange of genetic material between pathogenic bacteria through conjugation, and that this can confer antibiotic resistance. So welcome to all of you. Thanks for coming. And we start now with the presentations of the speakers, and we will start with Astrid and GARD-P.
Thank you, Sina. So while I'm waiting for my slides, or should I click it? No. Okay, so while I'm waiting for my slides, thank you, Sina, for the introduction, and really thanks for the organizers for putting this session together, because I think it's a really important topic to grow the expertise and maintain the expertise in this very specific field of research. Before I start to explain GARD-P's Revive program, I also want to point out that GARD-P works on various very different things than this little educational outreach program. So if you want to learn more about that, please visit the booth just in front of this room. Okay. So already at the very beginning of when GARD-P was being set up as an organization, it was understood that there is a significant risk of losing expertise in this field, as there's a strong brain drain due to retirements, and also as it's not a very profitable field. And therefore, GARD-P launched Revive in 2018 to ensure that knowledge is retained and the antimicrobial R&D community is supported to connect and share information. Here you have a little overview of our current activities and also some planned activities. So we have a different webinar series, we have an online conference, and we also engage with other conferences. We publish viewpoint articles, we have an encyclopedia, and we are currently working on developing a roadmap about antibiotic discovery and development. And we work in a lot of partnerships with various organizations and experts. And also what's important about our work is that we aim for it to be accessible for everyone. So everything we do is, almost everything we do is virtual, and everything we do is open access. Just a few little examples. So here you see screenshots of the most recent and also upcoming Revive webinars. These webinar series are very technical in nature, usually delivered by 2 or 3 expert speakers and followed by a Q&A session. I invite you to go to our website to register for upcoming webinars, and also you can watch all the recordings of previous webinars. Here's a little bit of information about our annual online conference, which we develop in partnership with the British Society for Antimicrobial Chemotherapy. It's also open access. It has a pretty big reach. So you see we had almost 3,000 registrants last year, and we just wrapped up the 2025 conference earlier this month. And also for this, you can watch all recordings online on our website. Furthermore, we publish regular viewpoint articles by internal GARD-P internal and external experts. These have a broader scope than our webinars, so they're not as technical necessarily, but they're really about various topics related to AMR. And here you see we have the encyclopedia. Also, this is a growing resource. It has something over 260 terms at the moment about antimicrobial R&D. They have definitions, further reading links, and some of them have videos. And finally, and most importantly for today, we have the Revive Expert Network. There we currently have a little over 200 experts listed. 119 of these were contributing experts, so they already worked with us for content development, for example, for articles or webinars. And the others are endorsing experts, so they support our activities, they receive our information, and hopefully also share it. So these experts are already very valuable for us in terms of content development, but what we want to do in the future is to make these experts more accessible to the global antimicrobial R&D community. And this is something where we are also collecting ideas in these sessions, and we will be thinking more in the coming months how we can support this better. And finally, if you want to get in touch, I'm sure you will find your ways. So you have an email address here, revive@gardp.org, or our website and social media channels. We're always happy to get in touch with people about topic ideas, or if you want to speak in a webinar, we're happy to discuss. And also, especially if you have any insights or thoughts about how to make experts more approachable, or why you can't reach certain experts, I'm also happy to discuss with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Astrid, for this insight into the GARD-P program. We would go on now with the talks, and we will have time for questions later. So I would ask Taslim now to go on. Thanks.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Sina and organizers, for this opportunity. Largely, what I want to quickly do in next 4 to 5 minutes, rather, is to tell you quickly about what CCAM does in broad stage and then in AMR, and what kind of services and what kind of support we provide to AMR innovators from India and now eventually beyond as well. So as indicated, CCAM is an organization supported by the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, largely as an enabler of deep science research and innovation. We are 15 years old now, so we need to show some work, but I'll try to demonstrate some here. We have 3 broad verticals through which we support some of those work. A, facilitating advanced research, where high-end technology platforms, be it cryo-EMs of the world, or be it the high-throughput screening capabilities or other capabilities, how we are making those available to researchers and developers. Industry-centric research translation, how do we convert the academic research that is amazing, but still not in the form factor that industry wants? How are we working with industry to actually convert that into form factor that is amenable to industry's input? And third is external ideas and how we are supporting those external ideas. This is the first vertical quickly, the high-end capabilities that we have on campus, possibly unparalleled in the region, not only in the country, but in the region in one place, with experts who are actually can support the developers. And a lot of organizations across India are using it, and also outside India. More than 650 organizations have actually leveraged these capabilities in terms of direct access, on top of the training of their researchers on each of those capabilities we have. More than 5,000 projects, it's a year-old number. 5,000 projects have been delivered, and I think we have just gotten to support almost 280 publications now. So it's really good movement of science, early stage science, both in academia, industry, and startups that we have been able to do that. The one that I'm going to miss, the second vertical, the industry-centric translation because of lack of time, but coming directly on the enabling innovative solutions, what we are doing there, including in AMR. For the last 10 to 12 years, we have now supported nearly 500 innovative startups. That's a good number. We needed that because we are kind of, kickstarting our effort in India in terms of building those innovations. This has been in broad areas of healthcare, agri, and environment because of the life sciences. Of course, AMR is one of the largest themes that has emerged. But just to give you a perspective, what has happened, again, these innovative solutions are across India. We have invested in many, nearly 500. We are in touch or supporting, advising 3,000 odd startups. Many of them have now we have 100 products in market, including US FDA approved products. And many of them have been able to go and raise significantly high amount of follow-on funding from private markets, including India, Europe, US, and other markets. One of the largest themes that, of course, has been important for us has been AMR, and CCAM has been able to work with the Government of India and the Office of PSA to build something called India AMR Innovation Hub, which is more or less taking the central position for AMR innovations in India, in collaboration with all those organizations which are here, who are part of our advisory council. I'm sorry about the low resolution logos, but this actually brings together the all forces rather than working with multiple angles, all forces on one platform and see what we can do together. This is a 3-year-old platform, and we are trying to build much more out of it. More or less, this platform aims to bring those all national, international players together, prioritize problems in India and LMICs, and see how we can then fund, support, handhold, deploy, and validate those solutions back in the system once it's solved. So that's a larger component that we have, and we are very, very grateful for fantastic partners who are here, of course, including Carbex for this larger effort. The vision, this actually binds in immediately with the vision of the National Action Plan 2.0 that is coming very soon for India, which will have very clear outcome of 5 years. How can we build and enable solutions which can address problems in India and equivalent LMICs? The vision is to build, at least address top 10 AMR challenges of India, which are prioritized across human health, agri, animal husbandry, and environment. And for that, of course, there are several domains that we are working on, which includes prevention, screening, diagnostic, therapeutics, stewardship, and AMR surveillance. But of course, what we want to do in doing that is, of course, raising investments and funds to support those innovations, hand-holding those, and deploy and implement those. As of now, we are funding 80 AMR innovative solutions. 3 of them, we are very happy to say, that have been supported by Carbex as well. So it's a good way that we are able to build the pipeline which actually gets supported by Carbex, and we are hoping that more and more would be able to do that. Some of those are really fantastic, and we hope they are getting in diagnostic space near the clinical approval and so on. Of course, international partnerships have been very key to bring us to this level where we're able to support those, which includes Carbex for many years. Now we are supported by GAMRIF, SBI Foundation, a collaboration with ICAS, collaboration in Netherlands and Switzerland, which is allowing us to engage that at global stage and build that larger effort. Because I don't think in a place like India, you can only build from India. You have to have a global collaboration which is allowing that. So this is what we are hoping to do. We are just at the beginning of the NAP 2.0 of India. So I invite innovators who are here, invite other stakeholders who are here for build this partnership so we can do our objectives much better together. I'll stop here. I thank you all for this opportunity, but very happy to take questions or any queries that you may have in terms of how one can build collaborations globally and address problems, including in LMICs together. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Taslim. It's good to see that these things exist. We straightly go forward with Richard Alm from Carbex.
Thank you, Sina, and thank you for the invitation to come. Carbex probably doesn't need a lot of introduction. We are a global non-profit partnership between a number of governments and some philanthropic organisations that was really established in 2016 to try and help fill the pipeline as the ecosystem for R&D and anti-infectives was changing quite dramatically. And just to give you an idea of the ecosystem that we're working in at the moment, this is a pie chart of the 1,733 applications that we've had since Carbex was formed. And you can see there that while, do I have a pointer here? 17% come from universities, almost half of the applications come from companies that are less than 10 people. And these are the organisations that are really building the foundation of innovation in antimicrobial resistance now. Large companies are still starting to hopefully come back, but at the moment, very few applications come from those. I'll also say in the second bullet point here that we have seen significant attrition. If you go back through the first 3 years of applications, about 37% of the applicants no longer exist as companies. And that's sad, obviously, because a lot of people can't get funding and they can't come through, and there's not enough money to go around. I think we all know that. But the thing I'd like to point out here today is that small groups that try and establish these products don't often carry the breadth of expertise across all the disciplines that they need, and that's where Carbex, to our funded groups, try and provide that expertise. So we are now operating at a global scale. You can see at the bottom there, the 1,733 applications. We currently have 43 active projects. We've funded 113 projects from 13 different countries. That's about 6.8%. That gives you an idea of the challenges it is in terms of funding all the applications that come in. We do fund across therapeutics, preventatives and diagnostics, so we cover all 3 pillars. And we do focus on performance characteristics that bring products to market, hopefully, or to the end of phase 1 when we graduate them, that will bring products to the patients that need them across the world, and that includes those in lower resource settings, so we focus on those performance characteristics. The money we provide is non-dilutive, which helps, I think, strengthen the VC money and expand that, but we do require a cost share. But we also feel that we provide a lot of other support, and this is the support model that we have. We build a support team around each company that we fund with relevant discipline expertise. We have a clinical advisory board. I like to say that it's never too early to think about the patients that you're going to treat and what studies you have to do preclinically to make sure that you get to the right patients as quickly as possible. And so we have a clinical advisory board full of ID physicians that will help guide companies to have those conversations early in their program so that they can help design the best clinical program going forward. We also have portfolio acceleration tools, and I'll touch on those on the next slide. But basically, we put these in place because we saw many companies with the same challenges. And so rather than support multiple companies to try and answer the same question, we would rather consolidate that, do the work once, and then share the data ultimately with the whole ecosystem, but initially with the companies that are trying to fix that problem in our own portfolio. NIAID has preclinical services, and our companies that we support get access to those. We've also started a collaboration with CHI, the Clinton Health Access Initiative, around market shaping to try and understand what type of products and what other challenges and hurdles there are to get products taken up into lower resourced countries. And we're currently doing a project with them on gonorrhea products into LMICs. And last, we have a business development council where we try and match these small companies, as you probably all know, are constantly looking to fundraise. And so we have an investor day once a year where we bring in VCs and other advanced developers to meet our companies that are nearing graduation so that they can hopefully present their data and help bridge those networks so they can get further funding. So one slide on portfolio acceleration tools. This is some examples of the type of projects we do. We're just finishing our second iteration of the early evaluation of pre-existing resistance, where we get all of our companies to send us representative compounds, and we do one large global susceptibility assay and then send out the data to all of them. We do customised bioinformatics assessments for our vaccine companies if they require them to look at the early antigen variation that they may have in the antigens that are going into their vaccines. We've done a project around the consistent assessment of a key safety risk that was nephrotoxicity. We had a lot of peptides in our program a couple of years ago, and so we wanted to understand what was the best preclinical model and preclinical filters to go through to understand the nephrotoxicity risks that are associated with peptides. Models of efficacy and the back translation. Erin Duffy has just co-authored several papers here where we work with accelerators around the world to not only standardize the lung infection model, but also to then back validate it with known compounds that are used clinically in this indication to understand what endpoints in the animal model you should get so that you can translate that effect differently. We've got a PAT, or a portfolio acceleration tool, around sample collection to support genital swabs to our gonorrhea diagnostic companies. And we've also done workshops on clinical design around superiority trials, because so many of our products will be used adjunctively, and so we may need to show superiority in clinical research. And lastly, I'd like to mention CarbX Connect. This is a forum that's on our website. You can go to our website and see a lot of this information that I've just talked about. But CarbX Connect is an online portal. It's not linked to a funding round. It's open all the time. And it's an opportunity for companies and groups to introduce their project to CarbX so we know what's going on in the ecosystem. So that's the opportunity to share with us. You'll get some feedback from some development experts if you ask specific questions. And this is open continuously, even outside of funding calls. So I would encourage you all to use that if you feel that would be of value. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. We come now directly to Patrice Covallo, talking about the eye care course.
Thank you. So I will briefly introduce the eye care, the interdisciplinary course on antibiotic and resistance. It's a yearly course which is held at Les Pensières in Annecy in France, and which started in October 2016. The motivation was a dual observation: the emergence and dissemination of multi-drug resistance in human pathogen, and the lack of antibiotics with new mode of action. And also there was at that time no advanced course on antibiotic and resistance. Another observation was that many colleagues in the pharmaceutical industry are also they retired They were retiring, and you could predict they will not be replaced because of lack of investment of the pharmaceutical industry in the antibiotic field. So we thought it was really timely to start a course to train the next generation of people working on antibiotics. So the objectives were to bring leaders in academics and industry, which is not that common in a course, with trained scientists. And the idea was to build a growing, well-networked and active scientific community. So the participants, there are 40 international recognized scientists and physicians, because we want, you know, that antibiotic research or resistance or finding new drug is a multidisciplinary field. So we wanted a specialist of each field in the research. And that's why there are 40 international specialists. And we asked them to stay a minimum of 2 to 3 days for networking with the students. Networking is very important in our course. And also, if you go to the website, you will see it's an all-star course. And we wanted to demystify the teachers, you know, so that the students will really have contact with the teachers, and that networking is very efficient. So there are 40. It's limited to 40 students, but it's an advanced course. So it's assistant prof, postdocs, ID fellows, scientists from biotech and industry, and also members of non-governmental organizations. And the selection criteria for the participants is involvement in the field of antibiotics. This is not a course for a diploma. This is a professional school to work and find new antibiotics. So a prerequisite is to really be involved in the field. The course is 9 day long. You have formal instruction, hands-on bioinformatics, panel discussion, and posters. So the money comes from tuition fees, support from non-profit organization and industry, and it's managed by the De Duve Institute in Belgium. Okay, I have to push on that. Yeah. Okay, briefly the program outline. It goes from recognizing the needs to delivering the product. I will give you only a few examples, but you will have all the details on the website. So the modes of action and mechanism of resistance to existing classes represent the first portion of the course as a background for uniformity of the level of the course. Then you have antibiotic discovery, contribution of AI, antibiotics, chemical space, chemical synthesis, natural products, and resolving the bottlenecks associated with the natural products. Then you have antibiotic development and approval. This is rarely taught, and this is very appreciated in the course, this portion. So you have preclinical PKPD, toxicology, clinical trials, approval, commercialization, and registration. Then strategies for more focused application of antibiotics, where the targets are tolerance, persistence, biofilms, virulence, combinations, and adjuvants. And the new anti-infective strategies, mainly site-specific delivery, phages, vaccines, and CRISPR-Cas9. So the students have varied backgrounds. We have trained 330 participants over 8 years, okay? And each year varies from 9 to 22 different countries among the participants. And we are very strict on gender equality. There were 55 women and 45 men total. So you see that 20-25% come from biotechnology. You have all the companies there, and also a little bit of big pharma, Roche, When you see two stars, it means attendance at every iteration. Roche, which also supports the course, GSK, and Sanofi. Among the non-profit organizations, CARBEX, which sends students, member of biotech company every year, GODP, INCATE, of course, Wellcome Trust. So these represent 5 to 10% of the participants. Then you have the main research center, which represents 65-75%, depending upon the year, mainly coming from Europe and North America. And it's Harvard, Helmholtz, McMaster, Northeastern University, St. Jude hospitals. These are big centers that send many students. So the course, as I told you, is in Fondation Les Pensières. This is the group photo, and you can see that it's a magnificent location. It's close to the lake, and October is the best month of the year. You know, less tourists. You have the colors are changing, as you can see, especially in the surrounding mountains. And the cheese from the Alps, they are really at their optimum, and it's very good. And so that's why we selected October. Now, the ninth course is scheduled October 11, 19, 2025. Again, of course, at Les Pensières. And the applications are from the first day of the spring to the first day of the summer. And you register online at the site, and this is I indicated the name of the site. So I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrice. And there's definitely, this is a unique format. There's nothing similar around, at least to my knowledge. So definitely, and I have been to that course. I can definitely recommend to go there. So thanks to all for the presentations. We got now an insight on how the different organizations work, how we can get information there. We want to look now at the results of the survey that has been online since a few weeks. And we saw that many of you answered the questions there. And we did this to get also your view of how accessible is the knowledge to you, either on the side of a young innovator that seeks for specific information, but also on the side of an expert that gets the questions. So how is this perceived? And the results of this survey will be presented now by Astrid, but this survey will be online for a little bit also after the conference. So feel free, if you didn't do so, to fill it in. But Astrid will show you now what came out so far.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the survey was about to assess the accessibility of knowledge and expertise for antimicrobial R&D. I put the slides together a little over a week ago, so it's not the final results. And as Sina said, the survey is still open, so we really hope to collect more insights there. Also at the time of making these slides, 54 people had responded to the survey, and you could respond, or you can respond in different ways, either as an expert who might provide advice, or as a researcher who might try to reach experts for advice, or as both. We had a pretty even split between early career researchers and experienced researchers, and also between low and middle income countries and high income countries, with the exception for the experts only group, where there's a little bias for more experienced researchers in high income countries. In terms of sector, most respondents were from academia or biotech, and then also a nice proportion from a clinical setting and a few from others like not-for-profit. So the most important question for me, for the researchers who might look for advice, was to do they actually have enough opportunities to access expert advice to support the research? And here the answers are pretty much 50-50, which isn't so bad, but still leaves about half of the people having essentially not enough opportunities. And when we split it by the level of experience and expertise, non-surprisingly, the more experienced researchers feel better connected, but 2/3 of early career researchers don't feel like they can easily get in touch with essential experts. And similar picture when we split it by income level, again, the researchers in high-income countries feel better connected, and more than 2/3 of researchers in low and middle-income countries said that they cannot easily reach experts. We also asked why, what makes it difficult to get expert advice, and here the top answers were a lack of an overall network, so people don't actually know who to ask at all, or a lack of connections with experts of a specific area of expertise. And then also other reasons, such as the experts don't respond or they decline. We did also ask if there is specific areas of expertise where it's specifically difficult to get experts, but in this little survey so far, there wasn't a clear direction. The answers were very diverse. We also asked the researchers what level of expert advice they are interested in. So we gave options from really short questions to longer relationship and strategic input up to mentoring, and they are equally interesting for the researchers. And now we asked the experts how this looks for them, and more than half of the experts responded that they are actually only approached rarely, like less than 3 times a year for their advice. And we also asked how often experts provide advice if asked. And here over half said regularly, more than 50% of the cases, but this still leaves almost half of the experts who respond only in exceptional circumstances or rarely. And this is my key question for the experts. So when they are approached to give advice and they do not provide it, why is that? Non-surprisingly, time constraints is of course a big factor, but then the second most important reason was other concerns such as confidentiality and conflict of interest. But I am also quite interested in the 21% here, which is the quality of the question, that the questions might be too basic or too naive. We also asked the experts what level of expert advice they are willing to provide for free in principle, and most of them are willing to provide answers to shorter questions about specific technical aspects of the research. And then also relatively many said they are open to consider mentoring. So this is something we will keep an eye on, and might see what can be done there. And that's it. Here is the QR code for the survey. So I would really appreciate if you would find the time to provide your insights in the survey. We also have QR codes at our booth, and you will find various ways of finding it. Thank you.
So the situation seems not too bad. I think there is already quite a good offer of information, but there's also room for improvement. And we would now like to discuss a bit, and we would also like to involve you. So if you have questions or comments how you get to specific information, it's now the time to ask questions. And maybe to give you some minutes, I would like to start with a question to Astrid. How exactly, when I'm now a researcher who seeks information, how exactly do I approach GARD-P when I want to talk to an expert?
All right, so I think I said it briefly in my presentation. We want to actually build on this and will improve this process, because at the moment we don't have a specific mechanism to help people find expert advice, but we have our 200-something experts on the website. Some of these already have contact information provided, so I would first start trying to reach the experts on your own. And then if you don't manage to reach them, or you cannot find contact details, or you actually can't find the relevant person, I would invite people to reach out to us per email, and we will try to help to put you in touch with a suitable expert. But I also have to be realistic here, because this is for us is a work in progress, and we have to see how this develops. If we get too many requests over time, we might have a hard time handling, and that's why we don't actually encourage it openly on the website for now, but we say it in smaller contexts, like here we work with the partners like Incate, where we want to really start a process of connecting experts and researchers.
And this advice would be for free then, if I understood it correctly?
Well, from our side, we only want to make connections. And in the way I see it is maybe it would often work in a way that we just facilitate the connection. People have a small interaction like you would have outside in a conference. And of course, I guess if then after that it leads to bigger collaborations, I guess then it will develop in different ways and might also involve financial aspects. But from our side, it should really, we want to just be in a link.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there more interest here in the room? Is there any need to get more information? How do I get in contact with these organizations or with experts? If that's not the case, then we would go on, and I would like to come back to that point that experts say either we don't have time or we don't respond because the quality of the question is too low. So I would like to ask Richard here, how is the best way to prepare actually to talk to an expert or to get this information? So how can I get to the level to be able to ask qualified questions?
Yeah, I found actually the answer to the survey there that a broad questions are always harder to answer. I think if you have a specific question and you're approaching someone, whether at a conference like this or even by email, be very specific in what you're trying to ask, especially initially, to engage the expert and ask a specific question if it's in their expertise. And I think the important thing when you ask someone a question is, and we find this a lot at Carbex, is I think you have to be prepared that you may not like the answer. If it's around development, you may not like the answer you hear. But if you're asking, you have to be intellectually humble and intellectually honest with the answer. And then you can ask why. But if you're asking for an opinion, come in humbly and ask a precise question. But I would say, I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone at Carbex, but I know a lot of us at Carbex get asked questions at conferences all the time and more than happy to answer them. I will say though that if we do have an active open funding round, we don't answer questions from companies obviously because that would create a conflict of interest. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay, thank you very much. And what about confidentiality issues? Maybe that question goes to Taslim. So there's often people are not sure what can I disclose, how far can I go, so how can I judge this, and how much information can I get without disclosing too much?
No, thanks, Sienna. So at CCAM, what we have two styles of expert advice. One is a structured one, where we have a program running, and through the program there is a constant engagement with experts, where the experts already sign in a confidentiality agreement with CCAMP, and hence all with cohort members. So that gets covered there. Be it expert in therapeutics, be it in diagnostics, they are engaging with them, and they're covered through that. Outside that, if the company wants to engage further, we are letting them do it on their own. But the first level of engagement and expert advice is being provided there. But also we have the other format where if they are not still part of any of our program and still want to reach out, this is where a structured or at least some level of confidentiality agreement has to be built in so that they can share, they have confidence in sharing with us and building on that. And what we are able to do is to have engagements with experts, which is overarching. So they don't have to do it with everyone, but they do it in one shot across the cohort companies which are there. So it gives them, the companies, enough freedom to talk about it. And we have seen that some of the experts who have global experience, they are able to really handhold those companies through the big picture and in terms of the global view, and something that they can demonstrate that they can take it forward. So I think through the very simple way of building confidentiality capability or these agreements, it is allowing rather complicating it too much and making it a bigger case. We are simplifying it and allowing the dialogues to begin and go from there.
Okay, thanks. That seems like a good way to get this handled. And so we also get this in INCADE as an experience that we underestimated in the beginning, to get people to a level to ask these specific questions, and also to get a foot into the topic. So we were also thinking, how can we help to lower these challenges, to make it easier for people to reach that level. And one of the possibilities is involving online tools, or let's say artificial intelligence. And first of all, I would actually like to hear what people in the room here think about it. Would it be an alternative as a first step to involve these AI tools to get, let's say, a basic to medium knowledge, or also to get advice on your startup, what risks you have and what level you are? What do you think about it? Are there opinions, or are there comments on that? We have a microphone there, and there should also be someone bringing it to you. But otherwise, the microphone is right there next to the column.
Maybe I can kick the comments off. Laura Millichamp, Inside Reg, Consultancy and Regulatory Affairs. I like AI. I use it in a limited capacity. But in my experience as a consultant advising small companies, I can say that there's no substitute for experience. Because quite often someone will come with a question, you'll ask them for more information. There'll be something in there that you hear or you see, you pick up on, that tells you the question that they're asking is not the one they need the answer to. Or perhaps it's more complex than they realize. So I think AI at the moment has its limitations. I think it will improve, but my recommendation would always be to speak to a person, preferably who has a lot of experience, who can help you understand whether you're asking the right question and then which direction you need to go in next.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much for this insight. And I think that also sounded from the presentations that we heard that sometimes the questions are really specific and it's difficult in an online tool to get to this point. But nevertheless, maybe the question to Patrice, how could online technologies or AI-based teaching format maybe support training or also building a sustainable network?
All right. I'm not sure I thank you for your question, but okay. So I received this question while I was already here, and I behaved like a regular student of iCare. I called the teacher responsible for the course on AI and asked him help to answer this question. So the answer is yes. AI based teaching supports sustainable work networking is yes. The first thing is the development of personalized learning pathway. This targeted personalized approach encourages cross-disciplinary conversations and foster collaborations between traditionally siloed sectors. These are the advice that the teachers gave me. Now, there is also partnership through predictive collaboration platforms. Now, these platforms, they analyze research output, citation networks, and funding trends to suggest high-impact collaborations. Next, expert connections by automated matchmaking system. This is exactly the problem at this meeting here. These can streamline expert connections at meetings by analyzing attendees' profiles, outputs, research outputs, and interests to schedule targeted networking sessions. So this is really the opportunity here. Then you have creation of AI-driven knowledge graphs and continuous learning networks. Now, these graphs that map global expertise, ongoing projects, and recent publication visually connecting related research area facilitate new partnership. Now, the continuous learning system ensures that experts remain engaged on the long term with cutting-edge research and evolving global trends. Now, the last point is fostering collaboration through adaptive scenario-based simulation. Now, this shared problem-solving experience fosters stronger partnership and encourages deeper interdisciplinary understanding. So these were the contribution that IA can do to networking.
Thanks. I really think these are great starting points, and it's already happening. So there is actually quite some AI support already, and I think that can be improved. But on the other hand, I think what also can be the common voice here is that it's not enough to have only online tools. You need still the human interaction, and I can just confirm that personally, and I think that's also the intention of the iCare course. Since you are forced to be together for 1 week, you have to talk to each other, and there are relationships developing that are really sustainable, that are there for years, and you always can call those people. And that's, I think, is really a great value of this format. So nevertheless, I think these are really great support formats to raise the quality already before getting in touch with someone. So I think we can really be broad here. We need organizations like yours, more of that, but we also should invest some time into AI support here. So all these great initiatives, but how can we get even better? How can we improve in providing knowledge in the AMR field to young innovators? So maybe we can think shortly and brainstorm a bit what could be similarities between us, between our organizations, or are there differences? How could we maybe work together? Or how could we team up to be more efficient here in this? And this question goes to all of you, whoever feels saying something. How could we improve?
Is it working? Yeah, I apologize. I have to leave, so I will just make a very short comment. If you go to iCare, you will have 40 experts at the same spot for 9 days. So that's maybe a solution for the problem, some problems, okay? Now, I forgot to mention that Kevin Utterson was a student at the course, and it was a second iteration. He came to learn what he has to do because he's a lawyer. So he was a very good student, such a good student that next year he was a teacher at the course. He introduced Carbex at the course. Okay, so I apologize, I have to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the
Have a
invitation.
safe trip home. Thank you, Patrice, once more. Yeah, I think we go on.
I was just going to say, I think one thing that as organisations we can do better is to understand the strengths of each other's organisation, so that if someone comes to us with a question, we can pass them off to someone if we're not qualified to answer, or put the groups in contact. So.
And actually, we have an INCADE, we have a collaboration here with GuardP already, where we collect questions that are similar from the ventures in our portfolio. And we are really lucky to contact an Astrid and get into the expert network of GuardP. And so far, we could really always answer the questions and help the ventures. So that's a really added value here. But Tasneem.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, if I can just possibly put, I think having such capabilities and materials available and shared is a great start. So if a network could be built in where the basic knowledge capability stuff, which is known that these are the components which are required, I think it'd be great to have those available as a first level of engagement for many of the innovators who possibly, would love to do the, in a way, I would say preparation at home of sort before they actually start doing it. So there's a good learning, a rehearsal in terms of what they are building. If that level of material is made available, which is an engagement model, not a learning, just reading model, an engagement model would be very useful, because then you are actually already opening your thoughts in terms of what is to be, done, what you need to expect, what you will see and all that, which is not an ultimate thing, which doesn't replace anything, but it actually prepares you for the next level. And I'm sure many innovators will leverage where they don't have easy access to all kind of experts immediately. So I think if that material is built and shared, that will be fantastic as well.
Mm-hmm. That, if I just say, I think pretty much what we try to do with Revive, to have starting points for people. So of course a Revive is not comparable with an eye care course. It doesn't give you the in-depth, super intense training, but we have so many topics, and I think it is a good starting point for people who come into this field or are very early in development and want to see what actually comes next, have never done anything clinical before. And of course from a webinar alone you will not learn enough to know what needs to be done, but you get an idea what expertise you might be looking for later. And I think to Sina's question before of what we can do better, I think we're already doing pretty well on some things. At least I know some of the organizations, we think of each other, and I think that's something to do, not to try to replicate something which is already there, but to point people in the direction of the resources which already exist. And I think we do this a lot, but I guess there's always room for improvement.
Okay, thank you very much for this input. We have to finish in time, and that's exactly now. So thank you for coming here. Thanks to the panelists for their great input. And there's room for question and discussion either after this session or in a networking event this evening. And I think all of us are still here for a while, so you can approach us and discuss this topic further. Thank you for being here, and hope you find all the information that you need in the future and now. Thank you.